Hey guys, MFWest here, and today we have another Mythic Plus video for you. It's going to be a plus 12 miss of Tirna Scithe. Now, pretty nice and quick dungeon for you guys. It's actually, I think, one of the quickest dungeons in Shadowlands, which is why it's a great one to kind of give you guys my commentary and just perspective of the dungeon. So I think currently I'm almost at 950 radar IO, which is like around 12s and 13s done for most of the dungeons. I think I'm missing like the other side in a few of them, but I think Unholy is doing quite well at the moment, considering that we're missing our best in slots Mythic plus Legendary. The raid Legendary that you're going to see me using in this footage is not very good for Mythic plus at all. I mean, might be decent on Tyrannical, but that's about it really. The World Boss Unholy Legendary is so big. It's a massive upgrade for that kind of for Mythic Plus content. So again, I have not got my Biz Legendary, but still doing decent damage. I think there'll be a pretty significant spike when we do get that Legendary that drops from the World Boss. Please drop next week, Blizzard. Please. In terms of what talents I was using for this dungeon, this was a tyrannical week, so I was using a slightly more single target orientated build. Otherwise I will be opting for infected claws and bursting swords on fortified. I really think it's quite strong, especially if you have a tank that likes to do some pretty enormous pulls depending on the dungeon and the playstyle of the tank. Everything else is as per usual from what I've said in my previous videos, but except for Unholy Blight. And in terms of my nothing's changed at all, guys. I'm still using Eternal Hunger and the Mind Freeze Interrupt conduit there, so no changes there at all. So, in terms of my gear, I was not the higher item level that I am now. I was around 202, 203 maybe, and I'm not a big fan of the Macabre sheet music. It's a very odd and awkward trinket to use, especially in some encounters in Mythic Plus. I definitely think there are way better trinkets than this, but I haven't got my hands on them, such as the inscrutable quantum device. But yeah, need to get my hands on it. Only rocking 46% mastery, still trying to itemize efficiently, guys, so bear with me while the first month or so of Shadowlands goes by, and I'll collect as much gear as I can and show you what Unholy can really push out. So let's get straight into the video. Alrighty guys, so start of the dungeon here. I always like to use Unholy Blight and Dark Transformation at the same time, and make sure you're running that line through there. I'm still getting used to kind of doing that from previous expansions, but yeah, especially on decent sized pools, you can speak to the tank, ask him, hey, are you going to chain pull anything? Because you always want to have Unholy Blight and Dark Transformation for large pools. It's really strong. Now on this pack here, we actually overpull here, I believe. Let me just double check. It might be here where the tank goes down, but nah, it's actually going to be the next pack. So in the next pack we overpull by accident. I think we mispull, or someone pulls a mob by accident and we actually go down. But I've already used my Abomination's Limb and it'll be up in about 30 seconds here, so not that bad. And remember to always try and fit in your Apocalypse while you have Unholy Blight up on the targets. And in this case we have a massive elite, the team and a villager, so really important to be using Apocalypse on priority targets for damage, because there's a large amount of damage. So yeah, so here we go into the next pack. I actually believe I cut out that weird wipe we had where we pulled something too much, so makes it easy and less to talk about, I guess. But these packs, again, this affix, the storming affix, is the most toxic affix for melee, guys. I think it's so toxic. I hate it. Little tip with the whirlwinds, guys. You can press Death's Advance and simply just not get knocked up. And I really recommend you think about that, because on a lot of boss fights, getting knocked up will actually kill you. Like getting out of dodging a frontal or dodging an AoE damaging. You need to make sure that you're never being hindered. Your movement's not being hindered at all. Okay, so really important that you're holding Death's Advance for that moment where you need to not be knocked up by the tornadoes. So I know for a fact here that we have one more pack, and then we're going to be doing Prideful, and we're going into the boss here. So Prideful, again, quite an interesting thing. Really, DKs are really strong at basically killing Prideful, and I think we're really good at defending against Prideful. We have one of the most useful cooldowns to deal with at AMZ. Little tip, guys, only use AMZ once the Prideful is at least at 10 stacks. Before then, the amount of damage that actually is being released by the mob isn't that much, so not a problem. Unfortunately, the wheelchair has to get the last mushroom at the very end of the corridor, but hey, it's not too bad. So we have Prideful here, and we're going to use this Prideful to nuke down these two mobs. Again, I'm not using anything here because I'm saving it for boss. Yeah, so these two go down pretty quickly with Prideful, and we're on to the boss here. Now, this boss is extremely long fight here, guys. I think it's one of the craziest and longest fights that there is in the dungeon. It's like literally a 3-minute fight on Tyrannical, on a 12, and we have some pretty fat damage. I mean, it's really hard to even get Prideful before this pull here. Ideally, you want it right before, but quite difficult. You got to dodge the blue circles on the ground, and he occasionally does a fear. Luckily, we have a Resto Shaman who can just put Tremor Totems down, but we do have Lichborn. Make sure you are utilizing Lichborn to break out of fears. I did just use Army of the Dead there for that section there. So now Ingra is up, and we're going to burst him down with Army, and we're going to do as much damage as we can. Really handy to have fire mages and classes like Unholy who have these massive cooldowns ready to burn damage, and we get them to 50% with Lust, which is not too bad, but that does mean that we have to do 2 more phases. Again, a bit of a shitty fight for melee because you have to dodge and weave in and around all these little blue blobs. They do considerable damage, but you can walk through them if you need to. So again, try and pull your cooldowns, guys, for this Ingra mob. So make sure you're pumping everything you have into her. And as you can see, we can't 2-phase her. It's a lot of HP to deal with, and we're gonna have to kill Domren, I believe, one more time. It gets pretty close, and we are alternating kicks on him, and just let your tank know, like, hey, I've got the conduit that gives me runic power for kicking. Please let me go first in the rotation of kicks. Prioritize my kicks there. So always watching out for that frontal from the big fella Droman, and we're going to kill him one more time, and that will be enough. I think with gear, with time, this will be done in 2 phases, most certainly. That's not even that big of a deal. But yeah, a solid 5k DPS on this fight, which is really good for Tyrannical. I mean, ideally you want to set up pretty much 4 single target fights, but Unholy, as we know, does really well on AoE packs. But I really think there are classes that, at the moment, until we get our best in slot legendary, can do AoE damage better than us. Like Fire Mages are by far the best AoE source of damage at the moment in Shadowlands, because of how like on-demand, the on-demand damage from Combust is ridiculous. Like, the damage Combustion can do is simply, nothing really competes with it. It's disgusting. Marksman Hunters, I guess, can kind of compete. The Maze section, guys, our healer's pretty much running around in ghost form doing all the minigame while we kill mobs. It's the best way to min-max while you're doing this, while your DPS just kills and murders the mobs. These mobs are pretty scary on Fortified, guys. A lot of the like Senator looking dudes have a charge that you can interrupt, but you want to make sure that you're rotating your stuns and interrupts on important abilities like the flurry, the charge, and yeah, just never being in front or on the tank, guys. Really important. The knockback, the blue circle that goes out on people, it eventually does knock you back. You can Death's Advance it or AMS it. You will not be knocked back if you do that. But yeah, pretty annoying packs, guys. We do get a Prideful here, which is, it's fine. You're going to have Prideful going into the next 2 rooms, ideally how fast you kill them. So yeah, and make sure that you always try and have AMZ for the Pridefuls. Watch the mob count on each section of the dungeon and bank your AMZ. It really helps out the healer and stops the healer from using a major external cooldown. So really important that you're saving AMZ for every Prideful. This pack's pretty big. I'm trying my best to kind of save cooldowns for each of these phases. And yeah, look, this is the mage literally pressing Combust and doing 30k damage. Like, it's amazing to have like an on-demand burst like that. So yeah, here we go to the big fella, the big frog. Great target to Apocalypse here, which is really good. Just got to watch out for his frontal and watch out for the massive green swirly. Never been in front of this man. He has a big tongue, as you can see. So yeah, on Fortified, that would probably one-shot you. So yeah, be very careful. Bit of a toxic mob here with all the freaking swirlies and yeah, the massive swirlies and the twisters, or storming as pronounced. But yeah, really annoying. I think these 4 packs are pretty good for Unholy as well, so do big damage here. Really important thing to note, guys. Abomination's Limb wants to be used before you reach the boss. Burn that thing on cooldown because I almost died there. Because as you get this next boss, you do not want to be using Abomination's Limb, and I'll explain why. So make sure you're really not banking your Abomination's Limb for the boss. Make sure you use it on trash because you do not need it for the boss. Again, I'm AMZing here at 10 stacks to help the healer. I want him to try and not use Ascendance here, so just trying to use normal cooldowns. As you can see, we have to use a link. It's just how it is. Single target damage, like priority damage, is really important in these dungeons. So now we are at the boss. Now guys, the reason you don't want to be using Abomination's Limb on this boss is because she spawns an ad, and the ad will fixate someone. If you press Abomination's Limb, it will grip the ad into boss on your tank, on you, and any other people in range of her, and she'll freeze them for an amount of time. It literally, if she connects with her fixate target, she freezes them as well, which is very detrimental because the boss is doing this this dodge pull mechanic basically. So you cannot be doing that. As you can see, I press Abomination's Limb and it dies just as it gets gripped in. It gets gripped in. So completely my bad, and I should not be using it on this fight. You can be really cheeky and use it, but your tank has to be aware of it as well and be kiting it well away from the actual Vulpin that is fixated on a target. But be very mindful that if you do grip it in, you will all be frozen, and yeah, it's a bad time. So yeah, you can use AMZ here on the ad phase because there's constant AoE ticking damage, so throw your AMZ down on the ad that you are killing, and that is the best way to go about this fight. It's a bit of a race. Some pretty straightforward mechanics. Again, always be chains of icing the Vulpin. It slows it down so much. I should group to make sure that they're using cooldowns to slow them, and it can fixate on you. I was just lucky that it never fixated on melee this time round, so it was all on the ranged here. So yeah, really good. It's really annoying actually phases so many times. Not the best fight for Unholy, to be honest. The constant swapping of targets is never Unholy's niche, but I think the Unholy legendary from the WoW boss will help fix this a little bit. So yeah. So next part of the dungeon, we're almost done. If we didn't mess up the first pull that I edited out, guys, honestly, we'd probably be 2-chesting this most definitely. We're pulling quite aggressively. My Blood Decay tries to kill me with Path of Frost there. Nice try, mate. You can't kill the DKs with it because, yeah, that's how it works, you know. I use my Unholy Frenzy here. I really should have dedicated Dark Transformation as well, but I hold it for some reason, and now I used it in another pack, so pretty much a misuse there. I should have been using it on pull right there. Now this next pack we're going to be going into, and we're going to be popping a lot of shit. Now I don't have any cooldowns for this pull, and I don't know the tank was going to do this kind of pull. I would have 100% banked my cooldowns. Look at the damage this Maloch does. 30k damage, and the Frost and the Fire Mage combust as well. The tank just got knocked off. That was pretty funny. But we cut it out, and it's actually fine because we have the Knife Fae in our group where the tank can spawn right at the waterfall. So nice and convenient there. But man, I wish I actually saved my Unholy Blight and Dark Transformation for this pack. Again, I don't know how he pulls, and that's just how it went down. So yeah, these packs are pretty important, guys. One of them does a heal, basically. I forget the name of the actual mod that does the heal. You need to make sure you kick and stun it if you have no kicks available. Always be banking a kick for that. I believe it's on the Slughorn then. Yeah, if that heal goes off, it heals back to full HP, and then you're just sitting there with your cooldowns out, and yeah, it's an awkward time. Honestly, really easy section of the dungeon. Mobs are pretty straightforward on tyrannical weeks, and you just basically want to be banking them as much time to get to the boss. So we get Prideful here, guys, and we're just going to use it to chain pull into the next few packs and get ready for the boss. We will have Lust for the final boss, and we will have pretty much everything here. So Dark Transformation, Unholy Blight goes out, and as you can see, this is the kind of damage that I would have been doing on that big pack. But I just didn't have my cooldowns banked. I didn't know the way he pulled that. So now I know, after I kill that stupid fairy boss, that I need to be banking my cooldowns for a big pull there. And not the first pull after the waterfall. The second pull is always the largest, if not one of the biggest in the dungeon, to be honest, guys, depending on how you pull. These volatile assets, I literally just step out of melee because I want to avoid me putting it on the tank. But you probably can stay in a little bit and just make sure that you're not standing on top of anyone else in the group. Here, a big pack here, which is going to trigger Prideful, and again, making sure that we kick the Slughorn's heal, and we're going to actually do the Slughorns on top of this Prideful image here. So really important that I get my AMZ down when he hits 10 stacks here. And remember, if you do get hit by the Prideful ability, you can human out of it, you can IBF out of the stun. So you have 2 ways to get out of it, which is pretty nice. And to help out your healers, you can press Lichborn to get able to leech and heal up. That will definitely help your healer. AMS if you have to. It will eat your AMS very, very quickly. Alright, so with all our cooldowns going into the boss, Prideful, we're going to Lust, and we're going to absolutely destroy this guy. Prideful and Army is the most beautiful synergy in Shadowlands, guys. I'm kicking every single Infestor, which is the mind control mechanic, I believe. Every time we cast that, I'll be kicking at the end of the cast. So yeah, this guy is getting absolutely nuked. We have 5 seconds of Lust left, and he's almost on 40% HP. So yeah, this parasitic infestor thing mechanic, I'm always kicking, and one person can always get that mechanic. So me and the tank pretty much just alternate kicks here. And yeah, honestly, really easy fight. Watch the swirlies in the ground. If there are ads, make sure you are killing them. And yeah, just dodge the mind links. You want to be already spread out. You do not want to be stacked on this fight with your group. Make sure that you're near no one. As you can see, you're hit by a mechanic there. Mind link, AMS if you have to, but save your movement speed abilities for when you're mind linked, and you'll have a better time. It is a lot of damage on Tyrannical, so make sure that you're taking mind links seriously, and yeah, killing the ads wherever you can. A bit of a weird fight for melee, but in the end you can get a lot of boss uptime, and there you have it. A singular chest for the 12. I really think we could have 2 chested this, guys, but unfortunately messed up that front pull. I am going to be posting a lot more content, guys. I'm recording more Mythic Pluses, and there's a lot of PvP in the works. I'm just waiting to get that best in slot legendary from the world boss to really show you what Unholy can do. I feel like if I show you now, it's not really fair, and I need to get a much better idea of damage and whatnot as well. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please follow me on social media at MFWest WoW on Facebook and Twitter, and stay unholy and have an awesome day, guys. See ya.